All right, everyone. So today we're going to go through the 4 reads. Hopefully at this point you have printed off the 4 reads document. You should have downloaded it. It's on our week 8 lesson as a JPEG at the bottom. So if you have not done that, please get that printed off or put up on your screen in Cami, because I want you to highlight certain things that I'm going to point out within this video. So 4 reads is a strategy that we're going to use in order to help us understand and analyze various documents throughout the year. Now, these are strategies that I would highly recommend that you use in other classes too. I use these in my AP classes and in my IB classes, and the students really find that it helps them to understand the documents that they are expected to read and use. So let's look at the first read. Reading for origins and context. So this read, you are not reading the whole document at this moment. You are strictly looking for the title, the author, the place, and date if it's provided. And when you find those items, I'm going to ask you to, it's right here in red, mark up the sourcing information, circle it, because you need to keep that information in the back of your mind here. You know, who's the speaker? Who's that author? When was this written? What's the title of this particular document? Does it tell us where they're from? Sometimes it would even give you their occupation. All of this stuff can help you understand what's going on in that document a little later. I also encourage students, and we're going to do this in class, is to include your outside knowledge just based on the date, the location, the author, and the title. So when you look at those items, we're going to look at the Declaration of Independence. That's the first document we're going to use the 4 reads on. What's that title about? Where are they from? Who's that author? Was there anything that inspired them? Was there any other movements going on at that time that could have inspired them? And I tell the students, and I'm going to tell you guys too, write that information down up there with the sourcing info, the origin, the context, because you're going to discover your outside knowledge is going to help you tremendously when you start to break down these documents. Let's look at the next read. So now reading number 2, reading for meaning. So yes, this time you're actually going to read the document, but you are only looking for the main idea. So right here in red, the purpose here is to get the main idea. You want to underline the sentence or phrase that best captures the main idea of the author. That's what your focus here is. What's the main idea? Underline it, highlight it, because now we're going to have to go back and, yes, I know some of you are thinking, she's crazy. She wants me to read a document again. And yes, now we're going to go to the 3rd read. But note, you are going to have some difficult and confusing areas, but that's okay, because for reading number 2, you are strictly looking for the main idea of that document. So reading 3, yep, reading that document all over again. So now you're going to read through the main body of the primary document again. And this time you're looking for support. Remember, I tell you guys, when you're writing these extended response answers, you need to provide support. You need to provide evidence. Provide me examples to back up your claim. Same thing here. Now you're the teacher. You're the one grading this document. You're the one looking for this author's support, their evidence, and you get to critique it. So for reading 3, underline any support, their evidence, the examples they give, and I'm also going to tell you to, on the side of the page, right there in the margins, where you've underlined the stuff, make a comment. Is that a strong piece of evidence? Are they strongly supporting their claim? That item that you underline under reading 2, their main part of this document, is this believable? Are they contradicting themselves? You get to judge here what's going on in this document. So let's go to, and yeah, I know, it's called the 4 reads. We have to read it one more time. So now you are the historian. Reading 4. In the final read, you're going to, 1, look back at that sourcing information. And then you're going to read through that main body one more time. And you're going to pull all of this stuff together. So the more that you have written off to the side, the more that you've marked up specific items and you've noted what those items are. So you've underlined those pieces of evidence. Mark evidence right here. And now you're going to question, given the author of the document, what bias or perspective might they have expressed here? We are going to run into a lot of documents where there is bias. People are going to present their perspective. There's going to be things that are left out because they're not going to share that. You, as the historian, need to be aware of it. How does this shape your understanding of the argument? When we look at the Declaration of Independence and we address our issues, does the authors of the Declaration of Independence include any negative behavior that came from the colonists in response to what we thought was unfair? So not only are you looking at, what they put in there, but you also have to think about, well, what did they exclude? And that falls under that bias in their perspective. They're trying to present a certain image. And we, as the historians, need to understand that process. Given the date of the document, what is the document responding to or in dialogue with? Again, that Declaration of Independence, I want you to think about that. So what exactly were the colonists responding to? What are they in dialogue with? What was going on during that time? That could also play into what was inspiring their ideas that are in that document. Given the place and the audience of the document, how is the argument shaped to be effective? So think about that, your audience. If I am a leader of a country and I am going to present some ideas to my public, I want them to pay more taxes. And I'm going to put a very positive spin on why I need them to pay more taxes. What I'm going to do with that money, the majority of the items I'm going to do with that money, I'm probably not going to share with the public. But my close-knit group, my advisors, they know what I'm really planning on doing. But what I present to the public is not the same information I'm going to present to my close circle. So when we look at, who's the audience of a document, whether it's a speech or something that they're writing to get published, there's a reason behind what they're putting in there. How does that actually shape their argument, and is it effective? In the margins, write in the margins about the larger meaning of the document. So again, you get to be the critic here. Did they convince you? Would this have convinced the audience that they were trying to gain here, that it was presented for? Who might have disagreed or had a different perspective? When we look at our notes for 8.4, we do have a section in our guided notes, the point of view, the perspective. So you had the British on one side and you had the American colonists on the other. For the British, we were a colony. We had no rights. We had a sole purpose to build them up politically and economically. That was it. That was our job. But from our perspective, the colonist perspective, we were citizens of the British Empire. And as citizens, our rights were protected under the English Bill of Rights. So we definitely see that we have differing perspectives. So when you look at that Declaration of Independence, that opposing view, the view that would disagree with the items that were stated there, the British definitely would have a different view, particularly the government. Since they didn't consider us true citizens or protected under the English Bill of Rights, then they definitely wouldn't have seen it as feasible for us to petition the king or government with a list of grievances that we say they're violating our rights. What facts did the author leave out and why? So as you read that Declaration of Independence, I'd like for you to count how many times we talk about tar and feathering, the Boston Tea Party. So any little things that we did in response that Britain would have seen as a negative response from us. And then what questions are unanswered? So what were things that were kind of left out? So as you finish through with going through this 4 reads, using this to analyze the Declaration of Independence, I want you to continue to think, how can I add more information? Because with that information, your outside knowledge, it only adds to your understanding of these particular documents. So now I want you to go ahead and tackle that Declaration of Independence and have it ready for the next time I see you in class.